Did you think it was fake news, Star Trek? Today on episode 401 of Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. And yes, everything Trekland, including TreklandTreks.com, your customized real-life away mission somewhere across Southern California. Get in touch with me. We are back for another Tuesday of some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. Glad to see everybody here back with us a Tuesday. Boy, after two guests in a row, we're filling in this low Star Trek headline time with some other back to our soapbox, back to our theme show today. Really enjoyed having so many guests lately. It's just turned out that way. But something is going on recently. It's one of those things that kind of blips out there. People talk about it. It goes away. Some people don't know what to think about it. Others are caught with the new thing coming down the pike. There's not a lot coming down the pike right now, so maybe it's just a quiet moment. Everybody is busy. I mean, this is a good time for people, everybody from fans at home to clubs and meetup groups and pages and podcasts, watch it groups. Everybody's diving back in the franchise at different places. I keep thinking people are going to be diving into the later series because they were also fresh and new and maybe even controversial at the time. What was the crisis of the week there for a while? We've even got the book out now. Adam Kotsko was here talking about his book about the recent series. Late Star Trek, he called it. But there was some news recently that popped up, and I got to thinking about it. On one level, it made a lot of sense, even though it's yet to be confirmed by anyone. I'm not talking about scurrilous. Nobody's been fired and hired. But no, it's like the world is bigger than that. The old Toxic Tuber days, that was the joke, right? Oh, Alex Kurtzman's been fired and he's been rehired 97 times, 50 more than 47. But this particular recent story actually fits into talk about a big picture, like just about the biggest picture that's going on for Star Trek. That's what I want to talk about today. Long Island Trek is coming up this weekend, I do believe. Maybe I'll get there someday, but it's a smallish con, very cozy, very informal. I'm waiting to see what happens this year with all the conventions, big and small, because I'll be at SoonerCon next month. Just got confirmation. I have a panel at San Diego, as we've done for probably the last over 10 years now. Comic-Con's coming up in San Diego, and then Trek Vegas will be after that. Almost a year from now, the next cruise will be happening. We'll see how that goes, that I'm getting back invited as a guest. But this entire year is going to be interesting to see what global, what national, international events are doing to fandom enthusiasm, to fandom travel. There's a lot of foreign travelers, foreign fans that either on the nose or even out of empathy, sympathy, that they're not coming to the United States because of all the hubbub about travel, about immigration, about some of the political things happening right now. And I know we seem to be wrapped up the last 10 years in a whole mega debate about, Star Trek isn't supposed to be political. Star Trek isn't supposed to be woke. It's supposed to be a fun adventure. Are you kidding? It's been political. It's been woke since 1966. And we have that going on. Okay. And then people say, well, I mean, there's social and then there's outright political. And these are all valid discussions. They're all valid points. I know how I feel. If you follow my socials, you know how I feel. But the point is that no matter how you feel, it seems so hard for people to understand. There is a world to this globe beyond our own bodies, our own little shells, our own little silos. And there's a world beyond our United States of America country. And you can't do anything about that. Well, there's things you can do, but they might be silly and pointless. What to me started as a little hiccup of a news story has reverberated out to include all of these, but whether we like it or not, has included all these larger than life news trends going on right now. I know, and some of you are sitting there going, oh, please bring on July and Strange New Worlds so we can have some actual Star Trek to talk about. Yay or nay, right? What I am talking about is the news story that broke in a couple of places. The one I saw was via Trek Central about, and here's the gist of it, and another animated series for kids, maybe even skewed younger than Prodigy was. No showrunner, but named Starfleet Scouts. A limited series, maybe 6 episodes. It's been a couple of weeks. But the big thing being, it was for YouTube. Now, it just kind of popped up. There was no studio confirmation. There was no studio press release. Biggest of all, there was no studio denial. It was crickets. Now, these are weird times. About the time, we've seen it with everything. About the time we think we see what the format is, about the time we see what the playbook is going to be about anything, either how to run a series for Star Trek right now, or even how to announce and promote from the corporate side, from this network, from the studio. The network? What is this, Larry, 1978? From the channel, from the platform, about how to promote it. It's all blown up. Now, I mean, my head is still trying to wrap itself around Tawny and Justin Simeon's show, the sitcom, that it keeps evolving, apparently. In fact, I saw one thing published recently that said it was no longer a hotel workplace comedy, but now a recycling sanitation place. So look out, Richard Benjamin and Buck Henry. If you saw Cork, if they use the United Galaxy Sanitation Patrol, then somebody somewhere is still going to be a rights owner that might yell about that. I don't think that's happening. My point here, though, is this sitcom was unveiled at Comic-Con last year in San Diego so weirdly that none of us, we thought it was a joke. Aside from the fact the way it was presented, which was trying to be improv and be wacky and subtle and oddball, and it was so much that way that we thought it was a joke. We didn't get what was going on. Much less the bigger picture, and here's the key thing, of that is not the way official Paramount/CBS does things. We want the big PR splash. We want the coordinated stories in the trades and the major news outlets and media, all of it to be coordinated and big splash and no leaks and yet here they were doing this on the main stage at San Diego with Alex Kurtzman sitting right there with them. Nobody was getting away with anything unless it was some kind of rebellion by secret hideout against the powers that be. I always talk about the pay grade above me. But that was like a signal that these are not normal times, that things are not by the book, Lieutenant. As far as not just promoting, but announcing new series. The CBS All Access of 2017 would be having a heart attack if that's the way a new show was rolled out. Or at least the way Patrick Stewart did it when he walked out on that Trek Vegas stage when STLV was still licensed. Walked out and announced that Star Trek Picard was happening, and the internet melted down. That's exactly what the people that try to make the promotion campaigns, that's what they dream about, a moment like that. I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but that's all to the good of the show. You want eyeballs. You want to convince people. You want to turn people. And a coordinated effort. Sometimes it gets to be a little, I don't know, we use the word a little loosely now, so I won't say Nazi, but it gets a little strict on the playbook. Don't change the schedule. That's an old joke. It has nothing to do with topical events. And that is why this blip from a couple of weeks ago was so telling. And sometimes if you're ever into crisis management, PR, I mean, the word crisis takes on a lot of spectrum here, I know. But if you're ever sometimes the way you react to something going wrong, sometimes the only winning strategy solution for your goals is to go mum, to go silent. Now, sometimes, are we talking about people dying? We're talking about some governmental thing or a disaster or whatever, Soviets shutting up about Chernobyl, not the best strategy. People talking about what's in their best interest is going to cost them money or lives. Governmental services, that kind of thing, not the best interest. However, we're merely talking about entertainment here. There's a big picture where entertainment is very much a pocketbook issue. If you've got stock and what's going on with your corporation, that can very much be a personal issue besides just entertainment. But in this case, we're still talking about just a piece of entertainment. So going crickets, going quiet is a strategy that may fit what you're trying to be. In fact, the whole thing, do you remember this? My mind flitted back. Oh my gosh, I was just checking on this. It was 5 years ago. Alex was growing the empire of the new Star Trek buffet. We knew about Lower Decks. He mentioned in some place somewhere that there would be a second animated series. And lo and behold, there's this random Wall Street Journal story talking about Picard and Patrick Stewart and the return. And in just a throwaway background paragraph, they mentioned that this is in addition to Star Trek Lower Decks is coming and Star Trek Prodigy that's coming. And people went, well, what? A throwaway reference in the Wall Street Journal story announces the name of that other show as Star Trek Prodigy, which it was supposed to be about kids. Prodigy makes sense. It's in the ballpark. I think somewhere people were actually looking up patent and trademark filings too. What did we get? Crickets. No one else in the press ever picked up, no one jumped in. I mean, a couple of fan-based media sites jumped in and went, oh, they're saying the new show is called Prodigy. Now, that was January. By July, here comes the announcement, like on the eve of Comic-Con. So we're going to go back to the playbook. We're going to go back to the schedule and announce it when we intended to announce because of our program. It popped out, and those paying attention were like, that was the Wall Street Journal gang, not a fly-by-night. And it made sense. And maybe even most of all, no one pushed back. No one said, no, that is not the name of it. Sometimes, even if it's not the name of it, again, crickets, not to answer is to answer. And sometimes crickets is the best way, even if it was wrong, because if you talk about it, now you continue to talk about why you're talking about that it's being wrong, but you're not saying why it's wrong. So if you still want to hang on, you don't pop out and say, excuse me, we're making a statement that is not the title. Bye. Well, then you've just generated a whole wave of news where the only thing people can say is the studio has just announced that the name is not Jingle Fritz. Well, now you've repeated the wrong title again. I mean, this gets all into the theories and the modes of communication, much less journalism, much less PR and promotion and marketing. These are just the rules that you go by depending what the situation is. So no, back in 2019, was it? No one said a word about the real title. No one corrected it. No one confirmed it. And no one denied it. We can neither confirm nor deny. They just waited until the intended time came up. That's what came to mind this time. And, now we're much more concerned about the show and why there is no show. And if there is indeed any kind of future. I mean, we've got to the gist of the problem, the gist of the problem, the guts of it. The guts and the gist of a problem apparently is the gits. The gits of this situation is that popped up. A few people went, what? Because the source of the report was the Patent and Trademark Office. This is like what happens occasionally, despite the best efforts of promo and marketing and PR, to have that playbook. Because it's there for a reason. Somebody just didn't. I mean, there are reasons why certain things, the advantageousness of creating demand and surprise and awareness and commanding the arena and not overlapping something else and not stepping on other people's toes or your own toes, shooting yourself in the foot, whatever tortured metaphor you want. There's a reason for that, but occasionally things happen. Even something as innocuous as when is the new season going to shoot? Oh, bang. Somebody notices that in Toronto, there's a union call-up bulletin board. And even if there's a fake name given to the production, especially if it's new, there's a union bulletin board, or there's a rental stage agreement where the thing is entered in, and somebody happens to be scanning and says, oh, Star Trek something. Or even better, the name is totally fake, but you see the collection of producers who are listed, and you go, there's only one show they're working on right now. When the right person is savvy, just like any good reporter, you cover a beat, you cover an area, it's not just that you know people, you know systems, you know processes, you know the things you check. Every once in a while, something sparks and you start putting one and one and one together, and you don't need the official announcement from the official spokesman. You see the guts of the real world turning. You see the gears turning. Hopefully the guts aren't turning. And you put it together that way. We've seen that again. That's how we found out about Picard shooting in California, because the California state tax, remember this? California state tax thing announces the tax credits that they're going to be receiving, who all got them, and public notice, and one of them was the Star Trek Picard series. So sometimes those third parties, they're not caught up in maintaining it. They're just doing their jobs. They're not invested in protecting the sanctity of the PR splash. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't hurt, I'm just saying that. So apparently the patent and trademark, could this be, the name different? I don't know. But the thing again that caught my eye is, and here's where we're going to pivot, kids. If you saw this and thought it was fake because it was talking about YouTube, au contraire. Everything connected to Star Trek franchise, everything connected, thought we were being so clever to get to Nickelodeon for Prodigy, right? Oh, including me. Oh, look, it'll get out of Nickelodeon. It's still a pay channel, cable, and linear even, but it's in so many more homes. It'll bust out of what little box CBS All Access had. The kids will get to see this and grow up with it. That was the idea. And even when it went over to Netflix, it was, Netflix will have a lot more subscribers. There'll be millions more potential eyeballs for this. Yay. Okay, well, we know how this has turned out. It's just gotten lost in the ether. It's just lost in the millions of other series there and didn't get its share of promotion. And we can, the die is cast there if we're going to say Prodigy on down the line. But my point here is, there's been a little bit of an attempt to break out of the old box to get shows to new eyeballs, especially apparently when it comes to the kids. Now, I love her to pieces, and I love sitting down and watching Prodigy with Cadet Alice, my granddaughter, who, when we started this, she was 5, nearly 6, and she just turned 9. Well, that's a sea change in how fast kids are growing up. But the last year or so, when she's been allowed to have, parental controlled pad finally, she's on her YouTube shows all the time. And yes, we all make an effort to get her up and get going and be active and not sit with a pad, not sit with a screen all day long. She'll have her whole life to do that. But it is a trend. It's a reality that kids, hopefully with some structure, hopefully with some guidance, but yay or nay, hopefully they've at least had parental controls set. But yay or nay, that's the venue of choice. As much as a Gen Zer is living on TikTok, the little kids are watching YouTube, watching what they want to watch. Made all the sense in the world to me to aim a trial run. Supposedly it was 6 episodes, trial run pilot for YouTube. Now, how much can that cost? It's a very smart decision for targeting, but also it's a smart decision on, it's like producing a pilot, only less, right? Now you're still, hopefully you're going to spend some money. You're going to make it look decent and have it be written well, or else you're kind of blowing the chance to grab eyeballs and grab little fresh minds with the Star Trek outlook, right? I mean, we had a great track record with Lower Decks and Prodigy. Surprised a lot of people. I would like to think that whoever the still unannounced showrunner, pilot runner is for this project creator. But what also makes sense here, besides the YouTube, and here's where we pivot again, is right now, look around you. Why is there not more Star Trek news happening? We've hit a lot of projects put in motion. They're either at dead ends or they're on momentum. Now, look, I seriously don't think anything is going to happen with Section 31. What about the format? The made-for-TV version of today, made-for-TV movie. It's crickets on that. Not even idea. I'm sure there's ideas on a list somewhere at Bad Robot, at Secret Hideout. No one's talking about it. Now, here's the dominoes, gang. Yes, Alex Kurtzman's contract, this multi-year contract, the current one is up at the end of next year. A lot of people, decisions are being held off until the future of that is made. Lots of fans out there would love to see Alex gone. It would take away, not the established series that are already out there to see. As far as I know, it's crazy days when tax laws make you take away a series, but it would just be for going forward. But that also affects what's happening right now if it's not contracted. And that includes Strange New Worlds. They've finished the 4th season filming it. We're about to see the 3rd. Could be. We're in the middle of filming Academy's 2nd season. No one has seen anything yet. It got a 2nd season order without an audience reaction, just the in-house reaction. Beyond that, there's nothing on the books. Tawny's sitcom is still not greenlit. I'm amazed we're talking about it in public, but there it is. Other than that, there's nothing going forward. Is that because Alex Kurtzman's a mean person? No, it's a very normal reaction to his contract being on the bubble. But why is it especially on the bubble? Kids, current Star Trek by anyone is on the bubble. Streaming is being reinvented. It's a pivotal time. I've talked about this. The big picture going on here, and I can think of no time in the past of all the Star Trek, various kinds of soap operas, and the various soap operas where the drama was not coming from the Star Trek world itself, but from beyond, the greater world around it. And that's happening right now. It's happening because it's already been a soap opera. It's already been a drama. The Ellison Skydance merger with Paramount. And here's where you say, can I just shut out the outside world and just enjoy my Star Trek? And of course you can. You've got all your legacy. I should have asked Adam this. So just because they're done, are Discovery and Picard now and Lower Decks, are they legacy shows too, or do we have a different name? He calls those the franchise shows, although the early ones were... where are we? Where are we? We're here where we are. There's no new real... Why do we not have a movie? Why do we not have the movies that were talked about last year that people were starting to wrap their heads around? A not J.J. Kelvinverse movie, but an Origins movie set in Prime about the time I thought, okay, it's going to be so early. It'll be like the Andor of Star Trek. It'll be so early in the getting to the Vulcans, just after the Vulcans process, that it may have elbow room not to mess up the canon for the other eras, the way people were upset about Discovery first season's doing. That was supposed to be, that was on the board and on the books. It's totally gone away. Totally gone away. Did not have enough internal momentum to escape. We're basically in the big freeze. We're in the franchise freeze right now. And we're not, what happens to Alex and Secret Hideout and their relationship to running Star Trek? That's just one part of it. That's not the end all be all. The big part of it is what's going to happen to Paramount. And I would say a subset of that is, which is not driven by anything other than just the culture's got to stumble along, is what's going to happen with the whole streaming model. But the people who would be reacting to that and making decisions, and in this case, what's going to happen to Paramount Plus, and we were getting signals that Ellison with Skydance wanted to not spin it off or sell it or merge it, but maybe bundle it and keep it intact and have partnerships, but keep it intact. But no one's going to make a decision about that until the big merger, remarriage, but it's not technically a remarriage. I can't keep saying that. The buyout, the purchase, the merger. What's holding up this thing that was settled last or months ago? There you go. Bingo. Politics. And something as wacky. Well, here's where you get in trouble. The 70s and 80s and the 80s, 90s models was, oh, let's have a publisher. We're going to be a media company. So here's our movie studio, our TV network, our book publishing company, and all of our cable channels. And that's how you got Viacom, right? And then you have the, oh, this is too big for us. You lost the triad, and then when it was Moonves and the other guy running Paramount, they thought they needed their own fiefdoms, and so we had the Viacom divorce. Okay. Here's where that strategy of owning one of everything to be a media company bites you in the butt, because totally unrelated to the movies, totally unrelated to the TV, Trump has picked a fight with CBS News Division. What does the news division have to do with Star Trek, aside from having a journalist come over and do a story hopefully when they can? Well, it's over this edited Kamala Harris thing. Any journalism professor, legal experts saying it's I'll just say it, it's a Trump nuisance suit just to get just for the power, for the show. There's, in a normal world, there would be nothing to it. A judge would dismiss it, but they have the leverage on poor Sherry Redstone, is desperately trying to get her family-owned company out of debt by pulling off this sale that everybody thought was a done deal. But as any kind of big merger, they have to get FCC and FTC trade approval for it, especially FCC. And and now with the majority of the FCC being Republicans and Trump appointees, they can politically hold it up. They can shake down Sherry to hold up the sale that her family desperately needs to get out of the debt. This is money. Nobody cares about what we Star Trek fans think. But this drama has been dragging out and dragging out and dragging out. If it was anything, and people now are protesting on principle. Don't give in. Don't give in. This should be settled a certain way. But Sherry just wants it. She doesn't care about the legal precedent or the principle. Sherry Redstone and her family just want to get out with the deal they can without going under. And the other thing is, if it did happen, the studio would be crippled. They've been gearing for 2 years. This upscale, downscale, who's got a job, who's out of a job, cut 3,000 jobs a year ago. So many of the folks that were working in all different areas, some of you who were involved in the DVD upgrade, the up-resing of Voyager and DS9, the company just sold off. And you get into this with the Void. See, it's amazing how insidious this is. How many different little fingers of the Star Trek headlines and drama we're dealing with all go back to this domino effect of no merger, everything is frozen, nobody makes a decision, nobody sure as hell spends money, and in fact, we're making cuts. So boom, over here, the movie that some people were waiting for is held up because who's running the movie division? Boom, we know now that thanks to Dave Zappone talking over at the Voyager documentary, the up-resed HD had to be done more by AI than actually going back to the original elements, because the entire process, the actual tech and machinery, Paramount has sold off. The same thing that was done with the same thing on the DS9 dock, much less the older upgrading projects. That was sold off to raise some cash. I mean, who's going to greenlight Tawny's show and commit spending? It's not just, oh, let's do that one. When you say, oh, let's do that, you're also talking about the money you're going to spend, how much you're going to spend per episode, who's going to pick the showrunners, and who's going to renew or not renew Alex's contract. Who's got that? It's amazing that for the first time that I can think about, and you know what? For the first time, maybe since Star Trek 6 was held up, if you read Nick Meyer's book, the head of Paramount Pictures Studio, mainly movie and TV, turned over a couple of times during Star Trek 6. It's a miracle that Star Trek 6 was ever made, as much as we look back on it. Oh, the signatures for the finale for the actors. It's amazing how that happened at all. And Nick's book is a great explainer for this, because he was right there on the front row. He was trying to get, what, 5 million more, $500,000 more on his budget, and they were going to wipe the movie over that. And then the people he was haggling with were gone. And anyway, the new people came in and said, well, of course we need to give them one more film send off, and we can get something out of it, right? Nobody does anything for free. Of course they deserve a movie means of course they deserve a movie, and we're pretty safe. That's a good bet on box office, right? I don't know of a time since then that the outside world has affected the future of Trek as it is right now. And we're all just stuck waiting. There was a commercial ages ago for some refrigerator, and it's the dinner party sitting around the table waiting for ice, and nobody had any ice because the Iceman was late, because the people that owned the place didn't have, or refused, or it was on the blink, didn't have a freezer and an ice maker. And the matriarch of the thing, maybe it was set in the 1920s, the matriarch is saying, he's not going to come. I just know he's not going to come. And it was all about the ice for the dinner party. When is this going to resolve? Is Sherry going to settle and bring down the wrath of the legal and journalism world because they've caved it on this thing that should never have been caved on, just to get the go ahead? And if they do cave, will there be something capricious and they still hold up, or even, God forbid, deny it, no matter what they do? It's gotten to the point where now some senators have jumped in and said, if you make that settlement, you could be accused of paying a bribe, Sherry Redstone, because it would be a quid quo pro, and drag through the courts and spend even more lawyer money and delay all this. And then with a delay, when does David Ellison say finally, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Fine, I'm taking my toys and go. Is he so dedicated? Are they so dedicated that they will put, that's what's going on here. Nice studio you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it. Shakedown. So you may fall on one side or the other of the politics. You may run screaming from the room just because the P word is being mentioned and all you wanted to do was watch Star Trek. You might have thought this was all about the new movie. And you don't care about these movies. You'll believe them when you see them, number one. And you'll talk about it when that happens. But for right now, I'm just going to go back and watch my DS9s. Thank you very much. Or even your Lower Decks. Or even your Discoveries. The current series have momentum for a season or two at least. But yeah, it's not just who's going to be making Star Trek. It's going to be who's making the decisions. Who's going to be reacting to whatever the hell is happening with streaming, and if it still makes sense or not. And who to bundle and who to merge with. Who to make level your merchandise and your toys. Just major promotions. Everything is on pause and on hold, waiting for the thing that has been on pause and hold for now for months. And just about the time you think you see the light at the end of the tunnel for this corporate drag out, now it's escalated from the corporate boardroom to Washington, D.C. And all you wanted to do was just watch your Star Trek and know what was going on. So, yeah, in a situation like right now, committing a little bit of money to develop a YouTube show is smart, but it feels like $1 billion bold step. It feels like it's a pretty ballsy. That should have been a blip on the radar. So, are we going to hear about in 4 or 5 or 6 months? Is somebody going to own? Is this going to be a summer convention announcement from Comic-Con? Echoing what happened with Prodigy 5, 6 years ago? We'll see. We'll see. But when you see that little news story fly by and you go, oh, this is rumor, this is fake news, or you think, I wonder, the different aspects of it make sense. Just like that little leak of a Star Trek Prodigy name that no one ever talked about immediately, even though it was sourced, apparently legitimate. Everybody immediately stopped talking about it. We'll see. We'll see. Both from a YouTube perspective and also from a somebody looked around the office, found some chump change in the drawer, and said, okay, here's something we can do. Nobody make a big decision. Nobody's entitled to make a big decision, but maybe we can spend a little money over here and do this and get into a market that we should be doing. It'll be the next thing. Who knows? But right now, we are still like 6 weeks away from that Strange New Worlds. We're getting into con season, and I guess we'll just ride this sucker and see what happens. What do you think, huh? If you're watching us later on YouTube, let's see what you think about this. Now, come on. You're totally, I know you got the opinions out there. We can stir up the YouTube column too here with the comments on this. So many people are stuck to see what's going to happen with the next Star Trek. Because what kind of position, if you're actually trying to save Prodigy, if you're actually trying to repurpose the lower decks characters, who has the authority to do that now? Well, Alex is waiting. You would think Alex would still has to, production company. You know, like Desi Lu bought Gene's idea, but they still had to get NBC to buy it, right? It's a 2-step process. You got to get it's like you got to find an agent to rep you, but then you still have to find a studio or a publisher. It's a 2-step process most of the time. So who's going to greenlight Alex to greenlight anything? And if somebody else is, what happens, Lord help us, what I thought we would never see again, but what if the combination of politics and economics and inertia, lack of momentum, leaves us with something I swore we'd never see again after the 12-year fallow period? What if we actually have no one in charge, and no one in charge of them is undistracted enough to have anybody running Star Trek with a dedicated mission to do so with the franchise? You would think the people that appreciate money in this world would know enough not to have some kind of Star Trek out there bringing in money, unless they say, right now, the streaming and the DVDs, the merch, that's enough right now. Let's just let this rest. If you're going to let that kind of thinking take over again, then apparently we haven't learned much from the last 20 years. But then you might be saying that about a lot of things these days. Oh, R.I.P. Peter David also. I met Peter David once. Here's my problem, gang. Peter David's a giant for Star Trek. Even though he's only in the book field, still had an influence on everybody, an impact on everyone. We met once when we were adjoining tables, I think at Comic-Con. I was digging out for photos. If I saw him in a moment of calm, I know that we have a selfie somewhere. But you remember, I was never a big book reader after the first few years because it would pollute my brain with the canon from the shows, and it would get hard at times to remember what was what. I remember thinking this before things were so digitized and data-based, and now we have memory beta to help with that. But I was totally aware of the impact, whether it was his TNG books like Vendetta and Imzadi and the Q book, or whether it was his Excalibur series in a time when you thought you'd never hear anything from these characters again, and just some of the choices he was trying to make and add to the canon. Something that our guest last week, Adam Costco, was talking about in those fallow years, the role the books played. Not, of their own as literature, but as filling a hole in the Trek universe for fan passion in the years where nobody was giving you anything on screen. So yes, R.I.P. Peter David. I mean, his health had been in decline for a while, but it's still one of those landmark moments when you stop and remember the contributions of people, so many people, so much from Peter. And he just, filled so many folks, so many Trek fans' lives with Trek that they adored and loved, and still affecting in insidious ways, even not just fans, but the makers of Trek today. You can't help but. If you were a fan and you grew up with the 90s and the aughts material, and now you have a shot at writing, hopefully you still have a shot at writing future Trek, you can't deny the impact that's had on everyone. YouTubers, if you're watching later, make sure and leave a comment. Everybody else here live, I'm going to get back to the chat in just a second. I did want to tell you about a couple things. This week, I'm going to jump in, first of all, and thank all of our Patreon folks here. Thank you in the TTL Club to Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Hubbard Gunn Johnson, Lawrence Todd, Greg Wickstrom, Mitch Keith, Andrew Jazimski, Justin Weir, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins, Keith Rombach, and Comedy Forecast. And our live wires, yes, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Chris Garris, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Gary Williams, James Durovich, Dave Gregory, Dan Leckie, and Casey Shafsky. Everybody, they're all helping out on one of two levels. You can too. It's the end of the month. Jump in as fast as you can if you want to help us starting next month. It's $5 and $10. It's pretty simple. I've just found out, $10 live wires, that there's a problem with the link. When I finally got you a batch of early Portal 47 interviews, behind the scenes creatives, people most of the time never heard from it everywhere else. That's what Portal's all about. But here, that's a perk for these folks. I have to get you individual links because the group link doesn't work. I will get on it, though. We'll get on it, okay? If you want to jump in with this great group of supporters helping us do things here, patreon.com/TreklandLive. I much, much, much appreciate it. Yes, you can still do the baby steps thing, which is throw in on a super chat here. That'd be the next rise up. It's also getting into summer. We're ramping up. I've already had tours scheduling. It's a treklandtours.com, treklandtreks.com, excuse me. Your customized, personalized away mission in person somewhere across Southern California. I help you plan it. We maximize the enjoyment for your real life away mission. And then I concierge you around and handle everything. There's a lunch in there too. That's great. And it's Tuesday, which means it's a Trek Files, a new one. Guys, this has been such an awesome season for the Trek Files. The new one out today is with none other than Bruce Horak. Yes, Hemmer, the ANR engineer. And he has a crowdfunder about, you have to go see it. He's doing a crowdfunder he's talking to people with disabilities who have performed and gone into the arts, different people who have enjoyed their lives like himself. He's basically legally blind. He's passing for sighted. It's an amazing thing. He's our guest. We go back and look at the roots of, two on the nose, Geordie LaForge in Next Generation. He's our guest. We pull out a document for this week's Trek Files. We're so happy to have Bruce with us, and also happy to get the word out, as you're probably seeing elsewhere, about his crowdfunder. So check out the Trek Files this week. We have such a great wrap-up coming. Mike Demerit's been a great guest. We recorded our finale Friday. You may have seen some of my socials. Yeah. Jonathan's going to be our finale guest. We had a hoot on an anniversary that maybe some of you are overlooking. Well, we're going to shine a light on that anniversary for our finale. And in between that, we got the great Ben Robinson coming up. So there, I said it. And then we're going to start season 14 off with a bang already. We've already got that planned, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off. So if you have not done so, check out the Trek Files. And separate from my Patreon, thank you all very much for being members, to get in on the live show every 2 weeks for Trekophiles. Trekophiles Tonight, spelled with an F. You can join the Roddenberry Discord, the Mission Log Discord, Patreon, $1 a month, $1 a month. And in the Mission Log Patreon, you get access to all the Roddenberry shows, including the Trekophiles live talk every other Monday at 4 Pacific. And you can comment on all the shows. You can jump in on the other live shows too. There's a lot of live shows on the Mission Log Discord that don't have a podcast. They're just some fan wants to have a topic, and they're getting kind of diverse. They're getting kind of interesting. So you might want to check that out. Hope you do. But I'd love to see a lot of you jump in there. Again, it's $1 a month, and you get into all the Roddenberry lives as well as the message boards, not just the Trek Files. But appreciate that. It's going to do it for us. If you're looking for me elsewhere, I'm Larry Nemecek on the Twitter, I still call it Twitter. I'm still an optimist. And Blue Sky is where a lot of the Twitter refugees went to. But it's Larry's Trekland on Instagram and Facebook. And yes, here on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Portal 47, just jump in and join the Portales if you enjoy deep diving Star Trek. If you suspect you might be one of the Star Trek fans who have no idea how much Star Trek you still have no idea about, you got to join us in the portal. All right, that's going to do it. But I'm saying bye-bye to all the YouTubers now. And of course, I'm also saying stay healthy, do all the things, stay awoke, pay attention, check the sources, and trek well, everybody.